Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about JANKY-NOMICS, as in Janky Economics. There was once a TV show called Good Times. The theme song had a line that said, "Easy credit rip-offs.
Rip-off.
Scratching and surviving. Ain't we lucky we got 'em." Man, talk about suggestive programming. First of all, that show was not created by a black person. The black actors on the show had all types of issues about how the characters were being portrayed on television. So much so that one of the lead actors, Esther Rolle, created the possibility for John Amos's character to even be on the show.
That is 100% true.
She never bragged about it. She
No.
never said nothing about it until towards the end of her life. May she rest in peace. She actually saved that show by having him on there, even though they wrote his character off because he was just too black and too powerful.
Like you said, his character didn't exist. She made it exist. But it did come out. That black writer came out and said that he invented the show and that whatever Feldman or whatever stole it from him.
Right.
And he came out and said that all those... excuse me, you're right. Norman Lear, pardon me. He said that a lot of Norman Lear's ideas were stolen from him and other writers, black and white.
And now they have the Netflix version of Good Times coming out that's animated.
It's not getting good reviews.
And
what you think about it?
Seth, the guy that started Family Guy, is the one behind the show. Now they got black writers on there, but when you look at who the producers are, is Norman Lear, Seth MacFarlane.
What'd you say, Norman Lear like?
No, it's actually old-ass Norman Lear, Seth MacFarlane, and Steph Curry.
Yes.
But here's the thing. This show is not about the Good Times remake. I brought up Good Times because it had this programming in the jingle, in the theme music at the beginning of the show. It's putting the idea of struggle and being addicted to the struggle into the minds of millions and millions and millions of black families.
Yeah, it was subliminal programming, 100%. I think one of the craziest things about that, because me and you grew up in the same place, when you watch that show, did you agree with it or you disagreed with it? I'm not dissing Chicago. I'm not dissing those big cities where that kind of lifestyle exists.
It always felt like programming because that family could never catch a break.
Ever.
But see, this is what we're going to get into because there are many different types of businesses that exploit the poor and financially challenged.
And they keep you poor.
African Americans exist in a situation unlike any other group of people in the world. You exist inside a capitalist system that was built upon your own sweat equity, and historically it created laws that were meant to interrupt your progress. That did not prevent black excellence. That was Tulsa's Black Wall Street and the creation of Atlanta's Auburn Avenue. Mm-hmm. Despite Jim Crow laws, redlining, and intimidation, blacks still thrive. Throw in gang violence, corrupt police systems, and the artificial drug trade, and we still find a way through the American Battle Dome.
We navigate. Bringing up past podcasts, you had a great idea for a podcast. We did it on black towns and black cities. These were the ones from the 1800s.
Yeah, that's one of our earlier episodes. From if you go back and you listen within the first 50 episodes, it's in there.
And because we're taught that we were brought here, that we had no choice, and so when you realize that these numbers don't add up, that these dates were, after slavery or these dates were right around slavery, where they moved whole black towns 2 and 3 times. That part, they're in the Midwest, they're in the Northeast there, and so that shows you that the narrative is very false, and also shows you the power of media. There was another Black Wall Street or super economical black place in North Carolina, owned buses, owned part of town, that kind of stuff. So when you watch Good Times, I don't want to say something that sounds crazy, but you really thought that you were going to be like that, or that like we didn't get food stamps, we weren't in projects, we weren't in high rises. But then the contradiction to that was the Jeffersons, where you saw George, have those other struggles.
But then you still had this black character that was so bombastic and over the top, and such a caricature of what a black man is, that the guy was ridiculous. He was a ridiculous ass character.
The character got better the longer the show went, but the bottom line was he How do I want to say did he sell out? Did he not sell
Yeah.
out?
Oh yeah. 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 He did. You talking about the character or the actor?
The actor did, but
The
I was
actor did
referring
for
to
sure because he wagered a straight up Faustian when you see the
the conversation.
photographs and the conversations this motherfucker would have. But listen, let's stay on topic because the first shady business that we will discuss is plasma donation.
Oh,
It is a
oh,
business that appears benign and helpful on the surface, but it is anything but that. This is some shit I got to get into because there's a lot here.
oh
So,
my God. Okay.
see, motherfucker, I'm bringing the heat today, man. Like we ain't
Well,
bullshitting.
you started, or you started on the warm side. No, no, you went to the hot side. Okay.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, I'm
So
listening.
the sales of blood plasma is legal in only 5 countries, and the United States is one of them. Donating plasma is low-paid labor that has become essential to an exploitive global medical industry. The United States has the most generous policy about the frequency of plasma donations. Germany allows people to give plasma 50 times per year, roughly once per week, with intensive health checkups after every 4 visits. Contrast that with the United States, where people can donate 104 times, and clinic payments incentivize them to do so as frequently as possible. In February 2023, the book Blood Money, The Story of Life, Death, and Profit Inside America's Blood Industry was published. Pharmaceutical companies push plasma as a wonder drug for everything from burn victim recovery to wrinkled skin. The book exposes the American economic crisis hidden in plain sight, where single mothers, college students, laid off Rust Belt auto workers, and a booming blood market at America's southern border where collection agencies target Mexican citizens and migrants willing to cross over and sell their plasma for substandard pay.
You said some deep shit. You said in Germany, after what you said, 4 donations, they have extensive medical. What'd you say?
Health checkups after every 4
Yeah,
visits.
they don't do that in America.
Fuck no.
And another thing I'm gonna bring up, there were people that got AIDS from blood donation and plasma donation back in the day. Arthur Ashe was one of them. Remember when he got, again, that could be the story. I don't know if the nigga was gay or not, but that was the story that we were told, was that he got it from a blood transfusion. So the whole idea that they're doing proper medical vetting, or they're testing this shit like they're supposed to, that shit don't exist. And I can give you 2 more personal stories in my life of that shit. I had a cousin of mine tested positive. He went to the hospital with his girlfriend. She's having a kid now. Of course, it's out of wedlock. He's married to somebody else. But when he gets there, she tests positive for AIDS. He tests positive for AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
Then 6 weeks later, he takes another test, takes more tests. He doesn't test positive no more. Neither does she. But you can't tell me that when that there was a blood transfusion or there wasn't some shady shit out there. But the point that we're making, the reason that these businesses exist is because black folks are in a hopeless situation of negative. I want to say this correctly. Negative capitalist positioning.
Exploitive.
Literally, it's completely exploitive. But you're placed in a position of no hope. So these things, when they start advertising them, they become, that's a good idea. I should go do that. Look, I gave plasma. When I was in college, because you mentioned college student, I'm broke, and I remember I said the story about when me and Daddy went to go see Eldridge Cleaver. So I go to donate. He goes to donate. They can't find his veins. This motherfucker ain't got no veins. He's a fucking cyborg.
What you don't hear people say is how you can smell iron in the air when you walk into one of those places. That's the smell of blood.
Okay, at the plasma place, I've never smelled that. But I remember one time I went to one of those Red Cross vans. We were in high school, and they had a damn blood van there. You could smell that shit. Oh yeah, no, that's not cool. Looking back, I remember.
That is aerosolized blood. That means it's in the air.
I understand that now. See, look, ignorance is bliss. When you're young and ignorant, so many things, it makes that shit palatable. But when you get older,
Downright
remember.
carnage, dude.
Oh my God! All I could think about is Wolverine. I
Yeah.
just smelled that thing there. I remember being kids, and you had worked at a fast food place before I had, and you like, cuz I can't fuck with fries no more. Like, what do you mean? Whatever. It's because you had worked there, and you had smelled that grease smell in your nose and couldn't get it out. You like, nah,
hmm
I'm good. Like I can go like once or twice a year. Like, but I was like, yeah, you was real with that.
What's
You were
funny
saying,
though, because at that time there was this awakening where
yes, yes,
you and I were reading, absorbing all this information. And it
transitioning
was
completely.
social, political information, but at the same time, there was this awareness that, okay, yes, we're teenagers and we can eat anything we want right now. But I realized that, oh, I shouldn't be eating pork. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't because some rapper in a song told me. It's like, when I eat this shit, I get fucking tired. I get
I feel
nigga-itis.
different.
You know what I'm
I feel
saying?
different.
Yes.
I remember that the big thing with me, my mom was always big on us eating fruit. She would force a fruit in your face in a second. Hey, you need an apple. But I just remember when you were talking about this transitioning. I remember started reading the stuff from
Whoa. Straighten
Black
that
Panther.
up. Clean that up. I was talking about the awakening,
Yes,
not
but
transitioning.
oh fuck, yes, we were waking up from this fog, and the big thing like with the Black Panther Party, they would talk about the breakfast programs and talk about the fruit, and I was in a Black Studies class where he had broke it down. It was a white guy, but he had broken it down to us like literally what these Jewish grocers would do is if that fruit didn't sell at their stores in the white neighborhood, then they would take it and sell it in the black neighborhood. And you realize that shit was that we weren't getting fresh fruit, that we were literally being fucked over. So that's the kind of stuff that we were reading and finding
Dude,
out about.
okay. The most important problem is the truth of what long-term plasma donation does to the body.
Oh,
Constant depletion of plasma prevents recovery and repair of the human body, and that can lead to premature aging and possible DNA damage. Why do you think these German companies or the German government makes these people get a checkup every 4 visits?
well, how about this? Maybe they care about their people a little bit more than our government cares about our people.
Of course they
That,
do.
that,
They have a
that, that,
strong nationalist view of
them,
the world.
yeah. But that makes perfect sense. That's also I'm sure they're getting other data that they can use. But the bottom line in that situation is that they care enough about their. I don't want to use the word employees. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about enough about their citizens to do that. And I'm sure they can tell you, hey, nah, you can't donate this month or you can't donate this week. That's about. It's not completely about the money. Over here, it's about the money, and you see it.
You walk right out of the plasma donation facility with a tiny paycheck of about $36 to $40 after trading your life force for a mere pittance of what it's worth. Where do you cash that
Oh man.
check if you don't have a bank account? Well, next up, check cashing companies. These businesses have come under a lot of scrutiny recently for the huge fees that they charge. The profit margin for check cashing companies can vary, but generally falls within a range of 12 to 30%. These businesses typically charge a fee for processing checks, and with low overhead costs, they can achieve high profit margins. For example, Walmart charges a maximum of $4 for checks up to $1,000, while regular grocery stores charge $4.50 for checks under $3,000. The exact profit margin depends on factors such as location, black neighborhoods, operational costs, and specific services offered by businesses. Like plasma donation, cashing a check anywhere outside of a bank or credit union should only be done most infrequently. Yet, people are habitual and do not begin to see a financial plan that involves getting a bank account and making investments.
The check cashing places also have the payday cash advances. I think,
Oh,
I,
wow. Go
yeah,
on
yeah.
into that shit.
I think they ran them out of town, but the craziest part about the check cashing places and the payday advance places, they were owned by real banks. You dig? Like, I'm just giving an example because I don't know the exact, because I don't want to lie, but I'm giving an example. In Omaha, where I'm at, a lot of those cash advance spots were owned by First National, were owned by these real banks. And so they ended up putting them out of business because they were predatory in nature. And they used that, the state used that, and I think that's why they got pushed out, or they're forced in different places. The other one that black folks get fucked up is car pawn, uh, car pawn shops. So you get in a
Title pawn.
bind.
Title pawn.
Title pawn. I couldn't. Yeah, they say it differently everywhere. Omaha literally doesn't have any. There's one inside the city limits, but
There's a reason why. They
yes,
they don't. Okay, if you notice certain things about Omaha, people, black people from there. I talked to my nephew, and he echoed this sentiment without me bringing it up. There are things, there are business practices, there are ideologies as beliefs that the controlling class of that city want to maintain. They want to maintain a certain image, which is why black businesses in Omaha, have only grown to a certain size, and certain types of business flourishes,
yep.
or
Mm-hmm.
the music on the radio has always been limited to one or two stations. And for the longest time, hell, when we was coming up, it was just KBWH, Propagator, the
Yes,
soul
it
regulator. But
propagator.
the
That's
thing is, man, is that they want to maintain a status quo.
there's a
Because,
glass ceiling for black
but
businesses
watch
here.
this though.
Definitely.
Now there's another side to that. There's an upside to this, because upon crossing the state line, there's a sign that says, "Welcome to Nebraska, the good life." Now they're talking about a place where you can raise your family and all that. That's cool. But culturally, black people in Omaha have always butted heads with this invisible hand. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this invisible hand has kept out those title pawn places, which is good, because these white folks that want to maintain this vision of the Midwest, of the Prairie City, this bastion of whatever the fuck they believe in, they have
Mm-hmm.
kept out a lot of bullshit. The same way those cops took those fucking vice lords and threw them off the bridge into the fucking Missouri River.
Back in '82.
Yep. Like, no, you ain't bringing that bullshit here. But, so, there's a good and a bad to that thing. You know what I'm saying?
Look, for the title pawn place, it's literally in Missouri. So you remember where when we
Damn.
were kids, you remember we would buy fireworks. So as soon as you get outside of Nebraska in Missouri, it is right there on the left hand side. I'm not even bullshitting, because me and my wife had to go there. This years ago. We had a situation, and but they helped. They here's the crazy part. They literally help you pay it off. They'll say, like, look, you only got it. Doesn't.
But you
It's
know
not
why?
as
You
abusive.
know why? Because it creates repeat business.
Yes. Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
100%. They're
in
not
in
helping you.
but
No.
in
No.
loans that I've had before, they always want to keep a good relationship with you, just like a bank or any type of lender.
Yep. Yep.
They always want to keep a good relationship with you. They want you to pay it off, because they know that human beings are habitual and you will keep doing this. Now, stop right there in your tracks, because if you have repeat business at a title pawn place, you are making bad financial decisions. Now, I can see once or twice,
Over and over. Yeah.
but if you keep doing this and you think you're trying to use this as a financial instrument, that's the wrong kind, because you're using
Oh
a
man.
blunt, dull
Object. Yeah.
screwdriver. You know,
You use a hammer for a screwdriver.
dude,
Look. Okay. I'm not trying to diss nobody, but I
diss
found
them.
out.
I don't give a fuck.
uh, I'm not gonna say their name, but somebody we know. Somebody told me that he lost 2 or 3 cars to them, and I'm like, no, that ain't what happened. But when you kind of think about, like, he had 3 cars disappear and they weren't repossessed by the bank. Oh my god. Yeah. And
You gotta
so
do detective work.
yeah, like, and this motherfucker going to Missouri, but he ain't got no bitch out there. Um, uh,
How
there
you
there
getting
are
back?
races. No, they come get your
I
shit.
know.
Nigga. Yeah, he gonna make a few payments and they don't. But the point that we're making is that these businesses exist to keep you broke. Even when it comes to banking, Roscoe mentioned a couple things that are very deep. The first one is you'd be surprised how many of these niggas ain't got bank accounts. And it's because they fucked them off, they overdrafted, they did whatever they did. I dig it. But even
or they got involved with some con man motherfucker that was trying to, when they were in college, they were like, yo, we got this scam where we're gonna we're gonna this sign create a bunch of bad checks and people get duped.
Yeah, that's deep. Yeah, check cashing schemes. Niggas did get okay. I went to a funeral Friday. So here's the biggest thing about what you're talking about. Me and Roscoe have seen a lot of shit, and we avoided a lot of shit. I got wrapped up in a car scheme one time. He knows about it. But we usually we have discernment. Once you get us, you don't get us again. And that's a general thing about us. So I'm at the funeral and I'm talking to he's telling me about the family. He said, "Man, look, my nephew just got hemmed up, and his parents were part of it, but the feds came to his door, and this is just what you were talking about with check cashing scheme. So, dad is a programmer, IT. He works at home, nice neighborhood over there by the university. So that right there is part of. So the lesson that I've always told my people: if the feds are involved, you've been doing this over a year, and they got plenty of evidence. So he's working one day. The father's working. This is the guy's brother is working. He gets a knock on the door. He looks at the Ring doorbell. It's 7 dudes in black. It's 7 cops dressed in black. Said, "What the fuck?" So he goes, "Who are you? What do you want?" He's like, "Hey, we're here for such and such." He's like, "Yeah, he lives here. Why are you here?" But he opens the door because he knows there's no crime going on in his house. He says, "Sir, we apologize. We're not here for you. We're here for your son." This dude and his friends had $300,000 in a check cashing scheme, but they were doing it with the internet. So they're finding these accounts, and the kid was responsible for $85,000 in check cashing. But his dad knew something was up. His dad had confronted him like, "What are you doing in my house where you're making this much money? You got $5,000 of bankroll." He's like, "You don't know what I'm doing." And that's when the son went at the dad like, "Stay out of my business." So his dad was like, "You don't have any business. What the fuck is going on?" And then come to find out, he had been giving money to his mom. So I guess the parents are divorced or they're in the same house. I think they're still married. That's the crazy part. So the mom is actually on the hook for some of this shit because she was receiving money from her son. And so everybody's like, "So why don't you say something?" "Well, he's just taking care of me. I'm his mother." And they're like, "He ain't got no job. This nigga sits in a room, plays Xbox." Either it was drugs or something else. You knew this. But what Roscoe was talking about back in the day, there was all kinds of check cashing schemes. So
there were check cashing schemes. There were there were always people who had some type of come up or a lick they was trying to hit to make money. Whether they were stealing clothes, they were stealing clothes. And that goes back to 6th grade when I had a girlfriend whose mom was a professional booster.
Man, showing up with wedding dresses. I mean,
dude,
just special order
crazy
items.
Shit. But these grifter ass people, you could always smell them a mile away. Like they moved differently. They had a different body language. They all that slick, fast talking, and you can see right through the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
look when you can't follow the work. Like I remember when you do a math problem, the teacher make you show the work. When they would show the work, somewhere along there something didn't add up. Another thing that we could do.
Dude, listen. For the brief time that I lived in Houston, Texas, I remember I went to a Taco Cabana. For those who live in Houston, you know what Taco Cabana is. I went to a Taco Cabana. It was like this 24-hour taco place that stayed open. It was lit. So we went there to have this meeting with this cat, and it was a scheme, right? It was a check writing scheme, a check cashing scheme. And the energy that this guy gave off was like you were talking to somebody that was a cardboard cutout, and there was a dude's hand behind it controlling it. Like that was what my spiritual discernment picked up. And then I started to look at this motherfucker and started taking him apart. And like, you make all this money. He's talking about how he makes like $85,000 a month and this and that. And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at his wrists because I'm looking for watches and jewelry because motherfuckers they telling themselves. and I'm looking at his clothes, and I'm like, nigga, you got jeans West on, and you make how much? Get the fuck out of here, man. Yeah, I ain't doing this stupid ass shit with you.
Look,
like,
oh my God.
You got motherfucker, you wearing Damage and Paco, you know what I'm saying?
No, what you doing is, that's the discernment. This shit ain't adding up.
You got Corniche on, motherfucker.
Oh,
you got some,
man,
and you got talking about some $85,000 a month.
See, here's what like people don't understand, because we lived in a check writing world. You could bounce a check on purpose back then. There's a joke that Sinbad had, like, hey, you could bounce a check and find a job by the time that check get back to the bank. You know,
because jobs were so easy to get.
Plentiful. But
you could be working at one place, tells people to kick rocks, walk across the street, get hired the same
by the competitor. But the competitor. Look, okay, so when we say bouncing a check, that means that I'm writing a check for my bank account, the money ain't in. Now, nowadays, it's an instant withdrawal. You write a check, they take the money out right there.
But there used to be a lag time.
Yeah, yes. Same thing with the credit card. You could swipe your credit card, and it didn't hit your account.
And the crazy thing about it, there was this point in time where you could do that and get cash back.
Yeah.
And you can get cash back from a check back then. And, dude, like, you can get hundreds of dollars like that.
Look, you could literally put deposit part of it in the bank, so it looks legit, but run and do some other shit with it. Yeah. So the lag time doesn't exist anymore.
But that lag time, if you could turn around and get that money and put it back in before, like, the shit, you know, even, like, before it bounced, dude, it was an entire hustle muscle that you generated and maintained.
By doing that, yeah, like you literally sat there like, okay, I got 7 days before this hits.
Like, we're talking about Kasparov level chess playing. You know what I'm saying?
Look. Okay, one of the things you brought up off the air that was so deep, when you talked about rent centers, and they have errands now, but there was
furniture rental companies. What was the third one? Hold on. The average gross profit margin for a retail furniture business is over 40%. When you really look at what you are paying, with the interest added up over time, it is sometimes 3 to 4 times the market cost. You had Rent-A-Center, you had, there's like a bunch of different ones.
But hold it. The reason I'm bringing it up, I remember being a little kid, and they had like a catchy jingle, and you'd be like, I would give an example. Remember when we were kids and they had a Metro Tech commercial?
Metro Tech, doing it all for you.
Doing it all for you. The Metro. And there was a rental place like that had like a catchy jingle.
Yeah.
And as a kid,
Remco.
So I'm like, hey,
Remco.
Oh my God! So I'm telling my mom, like, hey mom, how come we don't go rent a color TV? My mom was like, no, you gonna pay. You pay too much for it, and it's not yours, and they literally can repossess your shit.
Now, you had Remco, and then you had Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Yeah.
Now, Nebraska Furniture Mart, you could walk in there, you could buy something outright with cash, like I did many times with my paper route money, or you could buy stuff on credit.
But even then, that credit was not as bad as that rental place, and it's really hard. Look,
you have an example.
Yeah, my personal example. I'm dating this chick, and so this dude is sweet on her at the rental place. So she's like, hey, I want to get my son an Xbox. He tells her, not from here. She's like, nah. She said, why don't you hook me up? He's like, the best I could do? And he told her the price of that Xbox at a rental place is $850. Now, regular Xbox back then.
Now tell him how much it cost back then.
Yeah, on the high side was $300, but I remember buying an Xbox for my son. Y'all gonna laugh. I went to Kmart on Black Friday, and the Xbox was $120, $130 bucks.
Which version of the Xbox was this?
This is the first Xbox. I'm lying.
Oh my God, PS.
No, I'm lying.
PS2.
No. We were on the second Xbox because the Wii was out.
PS2 was about $250.
So hold up.
Brand new.
I think this was the Xbox 360. So I'm lying. This was the second. The first one was just Xbox. The second was Xbox 360. So this was the second one. So I got an Xbox 360 for my son. Put it on layaway at Kmart, like it was $150, and got it out the next week when I got paid. It's just the fact I didn't have the cash on me. That's another thing that we grew up with layaway. Dude.
Let me tell you something. Foot Locker. I would go to Foot Locker and put Jordans on layaway, man.
Oh my God! Oh, talk about it.
Dude, I
Talk
used
about
to
it.
love the fact that I could do that with my own money that I earned with a
Yes.
paper route. I could take
Um.
$30. I think it only took like $10 to put something on layaway, but I always put more down because I wanted to get it back faster.
Look, I'm gonna name it: Kmart, Target, TJ Maxx, Marshalls.
Richmond
There's another
Gordman.
one, Richmond Gordman, which is now Gordman's. You could put stuff on layaway. Now you had a fee like of $14. That was the fee. But then you would just pay the regular price and go pick it up in 2 or 3 months at the worst. Look, me and Roscoe joke all the time that my mom still got G.I. Joes on layaway.
Dude,
Kmart on
layaway.
Ames.
Damn, fucking layaway.
So those are financial tools that you could use to navigate and get things done. But there was also tools out there, like we were talking about banks. I'm gonna give you something that I didn't understand because when I was a kid, my mom was like, "I get a Christmas club," and what you would do is you put $2 a week. Next, come Christmas, you got $150. But the problem with that, my savings account gave me more interest. Christmas club didn't give you. But so these are the financial tools how they fuck with poor people and
Now,
keep you poor.
you see, here's another thing: CDs. Nobody talks about CDs
Nope,
at all
nope.
anymore.
Certified deposit. Keep going.
So, one way that I made my credit improve is by buying a CD. So I bought a CD with a bank for $1,000, and I kept paying on it. Right? I kept paying on the shit, and it fucking caused my credit to go up by 100 points.
And you didn't even know why.
I knew why. I knew why.
I mean, but I'm saying like that wasn't the reason you did it. You did it for the interest. You did it to make some money, but you didn't realize you were actually like building your credit. And like I said, the only way you find out about credit. First things first. When I was a kid, credit was for emergencies. You got motherfuckers' credit is a way of life. Or now, if you have a business and you're doing business credit, that is different from your personal credit. Those are the differentiations that we weren't taught in being in the Black community. You don't realize what business credit is or how that works. But about personal credit, I'm gonna give you an example. So,
dude,
our nephew at the time was cutting hair, and he was cutting hair on 24th, and I went to get my hair cut, and while I'm getting my hair cut, this chick is talking about how she did mail fraud, and
she bragging about this shit.
No, she wasn't bragging. She had got busted, and she said technically she had did it like 100 times, but she said the feds had got her so the last 37 times. She said if I had just stopped at 50, I'd be fine. But no, girl, you know how I am. And she said they had 32 counts of mail fraud where she was. I think she was doing that COD shit, cash on delivery. This is old school.
Oh.
So you still can do cash on delivery where you would sign something. Yeah, you would order something, and she did it 30 something times, and they had her. And that's another thing. If you're going over state lines, that's a problem. What we're saying, even when it comes to the rental place, you're literally paying. Roscoe was being nice when he said 3 times. You're paying 4 to 5 times more than what that thing is worth.
$850 for a fucking $250 Xbox.
And I told you I got one for $150 if you were shopping. But the whole deal is that they do these flashy commercials, that they give you these deals. They tell you, hey, here's how they get you now. So back then, when we were younger, I'm not talking about when we were kids. I'm talking about when we were in high school. You could rent a beeper. Did you know that? You could rent beepers and shit like that.
Yeah, but they're only like $100, man.
Yeah. You could have bought one for $100, but you could rent one, and you got the service involved. And so you thinking that you're paying $25 a month when you're really paying $5 for the service. And the rest is that you're paying for a beeper that only costs $100. That's how they would get you. Yeah, yes. Right now, when you go to one of these rental places, because I went there and bought. I got a little cable box that I get free cable with, so I bought it from the rental place. And homeboy said, "Hey, we got these for sale." I paid $50, but if you had rented it from them, you would have paid $400 for it. He said, "We're phasing these out. Just hey, come get it from me." And I did. I bought 2 or 3. I give them to my friends. They're watching fights. Well, you remember you was like, "Hey, Ren, how you watching UFC?" I'm like, "I'm not doing it. I'm not paying for nothing." And you get there. But the point I'm making, guess what they got in there? They got purses. They got skateboards. They got Coach bags. They got Fendi bags. You can rent that stuff. They got stuff that you can't believe you rent. So you're thinking furniture. You're thinking, okay, washer, dryer, couch. No, they got stuff to make you look flashy, young, fly, and flashy. And I'm like, so you're renting that purse? I'm like, man, you can go to the outlet and get that. You can go to the actual Coach outlet and get it for $25, but you're getting it for $700. That is a Prada bag, but you're paying Prada prices for a Coach bag, and you don't realize it. And so those are the things that they're taking advantage of. Don't get me wrong, racism is a motherfucker. It exists. Had an argument one time with a coworker. I said not an argument. That's not. He was talking about North Omaha. They always do this, this, and this. I'm like, but you removed all the companies from North Omaha. You know, people used to work for Kellogg's. There was a Kellogg's on 30th Street. Lozier is still in North O. It's still there, but I'm talking about when we were kids.
Dude, when we were kids, there was I think Pepsi had a bottling factory on 30th Street.
That's my point. So you literally remove the manufacturer. We've talked about this 1,000 times.
And the reason why is like I would see the green glass from the 7-Up bottles outside the fucking factory. And
the plant, the factory. But like I said, but you remember people get that job at Kellogg's and they wouldn't go there. They wouldn't leave there.
Cameron's brother.
Kellogg, yes. And so the point.
Matter of fact, it was a status symbol.
Yes.
If you had a factory job, you had status. You were somebody that had stable income because you were a person that had a nice car and you then had a house. Okay. That brings us to the next part of this. So the next part of this is based on this story that's been circulating about how there are these real estate companies in large cities, and Atlanta is the #1 market where they are buying up homes. They did buy up homes during the pandemic, and they're only renting these homes. They're not selling these homes. There's 19,000 homes that are owned by one company. And
these are starter homes. These would be
before you think BlackRock, it's not even BlackRock.
No,
it's a different company. It's a smaller company. And what they're doing is they're just renting out these homes that would be first home buyer homes, first time home buyer homes. And but yet they're renting them out. So then you have these people, young people, who live in this gig economy, which is really neo-feudalism and the new serfdom. So then you can't afford to save up enough money to have a down payment for a house. But you make just enough to rent the house. And so what it puts you on is this treadmill that you will stay on for the rest of your life. Meanwhile, you're becoming more unstable emotionally because you're becoming depressed because your job is not fulfilling, and you're watching streaming television inside your house. You're not leaving and going outside into the fresh air, and you're on this treadmill, and you have all this divisive content that's on these social media platforms being fed to you about this belief system, and the migrants are coming in, and and all this nonsense, and on your own pills. We got 3 or 4 stories
about that shit.
Right, and then you have people with all these gender reassignment things that are also getting hooked on, and that's one big scam for pharmaceutical companies who want to have new customers.
For lifers.
Yeah,
be specific. Yeah.
So then you're in this. You're living a borrowed life. It is a borrowed existence.
You can never achieve anything. Look,
no,
about the
you can never overthrow the overlords because you're never on their playing field.
Because you're on that hamster wheel. You're always
on the golden hamster wheel. The LA
hamster wheel. You're renting. Look, about the BlackRock thing, some of these smaller companies are still owned by BlackRock. That's why people are so upset about it. Because when you look at who owns blah 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 stock in that company, that's number one. Number two, what you're saying is so deep is that the example that we're talking about is that you can rent a nice house for $2,000 a month, $2,500 a month, but if you were buying that same house, you'd be paying $1,600 a month. That's that shit that I learned early on when me and you were out there as kids. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go buy a crib, and you're like, wow. I'm like, look, bruh, that what your parents are paying for a house payment is way less than what I'm renting. And we because our parents that got houses early on, their mortgages like I think $300-400, and I'm like, wow. But then they want me to rent for $900. I'm like, what's the point? Or the argument I used to have with my ex, I begged her to buy a house, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. You need to buy a house. So one day she gets mad, and my daughter tells me like, "Hey, mommy did the math." I'm like, okay. She's already paid over $100,000 because she had rented there over 7-8 years.
Yeah.
And she was paying $700-800 a month, and she had did the math. It was over $100,000. The house was only worth maybe 60 back then.
Mm-hmm.
So now, so what she did was she ended up going through Habitat for Humanity, and my homeboy, his wife is the one that helped her because she kept calling. They weren't helping her. I said, call such and such wife. And she did, and next you know, she has a house. It's a 5-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms, brand new, but it's built in the hood. It's in the hood, but it's brand new, and you know everything. You know it's great, and she's still paying less. And I'm like, look, you could have done that years ago, and that's the hardest part about encouraging people to do shit. Another thing that you know about me, Roscoe, I sell cars on the side. So I'm like, I'll be trying to tell people, like, look, just when you get $4,000 from your taxes, call me. So I had a homegirl, but telling that 7 years, she wouldn't do it. But then her daughter had 2,500. I think she had. It was during pandemic. Don't laugh. I had just got COVID, so I had my homeboys pick the car up, do the work on the car, and I think she gave me 3,000. So I made like $400, and she drove that car for 4 years. And she was like, man, you told me to come to you. So what happened was her daughter got pissed and just gave her the car. And she had a foster mom that told her that she needed something better. So she went and got a loan for an Altima and fucked it off. Didn't do the maintenance. Fucked it off. Then got another car. Her boyfriend fucked it off. So her mom ended up with the car. She's like, you know, you have been telling me for over 7 years to just come to you when I had a little bit of money. She said, I've had $5,000 2 or 3 times in a row and just spent it on bullshit, or went to City Motors, which City Motors is the new Sonny Gerber for our area.
Oh, God.
So you know who that is. So, but you still got Paul Gerber and Sonny Gerber still in business. But so, and you know, I've had people come to me, and the first thing they say is, I've never seen a title before. Because when you go to these places, you're paying on a car that's never yours or is wrecked before, or you trade it back in and get something else. And I'm like, same thing. We got a homeboy. He's a return customer. My sister's sister has bought 3 cars from me, and they're like, you know what? Whenever I fuck with you, I get the title.
Just say stepsister, half sister.
No, she's not my sister. She's my half sister's sister.
Right.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So it didn't make no sense. But my sister's sister, she's bought 3 cars from me. She's still driving one of them. She bought an Infiniti, she bought a Lincoln, then her daughter bought an Infiniti from me. And I sold it to them all for $5,000. And every single time they're like, look, you know, Roscoe, I'm sorry, I'm calling myself Roscoe. Duct tape, I can't come to nobody else and they'll give me $3,000 or $4,000 up front. They might make 2 or 3 payments and it's theirs. And so they're like, look, I can't do this anywhere else. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not cheating you either. You know, because if you go to a dealership, you're going to pay $8,000 for it. And it's so hard to get out the rat race. And another thing, the people I be helping are usually black women, single black women. And they argue with you so much. I'm like, you don't talk to a white man like that.
Right. Right.
You don't own shit. You know this. And so, but yeah, but we think going to a dealership means more. No, it's a status symbol. We talked about this the other day. You know, how do you sell to a nigga? Niggas brag about how much they paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
White folks brag about the kind of deal they got.
Yeah.
And that mentality. Also, so many of these things are instruments. A bank is an instrument. A bank is out there to teach you too, but it's an instrument. Because like you said early on, is that cashing your check at a bank is free. Yep. Because you already have an account with them.
Yep.
But if you don't have an account, you go to a check cashing place. Next thing you know, you're paying 20%. So $100, you're paying $23 or some crazy shit. And those are real numbers. Same thing when you go to a car dealership and you got poor credit. My wife, her ex-husband, had bought a Ford Mustang. It was a nice looking car, had a big engine. He was paying 22% interest. That's madness.
Mm.
Madness. All because you want to look like you're a drug dealer. All because you want to look the part. And people, I think they prey on our vanity and our ignorance. And you said that before. Once you're ignorant, once you're unignorant yourself, you can't go back. You can't just sit here and like, okay, I can't go to this and stuff like that. And I told you, they had great commercials. They had great commercials when we were kids. They had us brainwashed by third grade. But me and you by sixth grade had already re-educated ourselves. I know that sounds terrible, but we had. We had asked these questions. You were already buying stuff. You were already learning that your dad had taught you, like, hey man, don't fuck with that. That you're paying for something that you'll never get. It's a perpetual. It's a hamster wheel, and you learn that early on. You learn the value of money. You learn how to use it. You learn that, hey, I need a bank for this, but I need an account for that, and I need an investment for this. And you talk to, so that education, I get it. Our parents might not have known everything, but they knew enough to steer us clear of the booby traps. And you see these other people, once they get caught in them, it's a fly in the web. You belong to. It's slavery. Neo-feudalism is great. It's slavery. It's straight out slavery when you owe that much money to so many different people. And then next, they teach you about bankruptcy, which back in the day, bankruptcy was great. But bankruptcy now, unless it's a business, nah, man. That shit is chapter 13. They had chapter 7 back in the day. They changed that shit on you.
So if you've been paying attention through this entire show, we've been listing how these financial instruments have been created to exploit the poor and uneducated. So here are some things that will not keep you poor, which will help you to increase your wealth. And one of those is investing in art. Investing in art can be a good way to diversify your portfolio and potentially gain returns over time. So here are some things to consider when investing in art. Research and understand the artist. Art is a massive market with a range of styles and tastes. It's important to research and understand the artists, their markets, and their growth potential.
Also, don't forget insurance. You can insure art. That's another thing we're not taught.
Yes, you can insure art because of its ability to spike in value. So it can be stolen from you long after you bought it, and the value has gone up exponentially, and now it's worth so much more. So diversify your portfolio. Just like any investment, it's wise to diversify your art investments. This could mean investing in different styles or artists or time periods. Beware of risks. Art is not a liquid asset, and its value can be affected by factors such as changes in taste, forgery, theft, or damage. Or
death of the artist. Your shit shoots right up.
Yeah. So, and also seek professional advice. If you're new to art investing, consider seeking advice from an art consultant or financial advisor who specializes in art investments. Remember, investing in art should be a calculated decision based on research and understanding of the market rather than just a passion for art. And here's another thing. If you're poor, you're actually surrounded by artists and you don't realize it.
That's deep. That's deep.
So this is what I recommend. This is what I recommend for you. Go to local galleries. There are plenty of places all around you, even in a city like Omaha, that has shows that are put on, and they want to showcase the art of local artists. Listen,
there's 2 or 3 art galleries on 24th now.
Yes, there is, and the one on 24th is actually pretty decent. Actually, it's not just an art gallery; it's an artist collective.
Yep.
And like some of the things that they offer there, they have like stage plays, and they have art, and they have film presentations. But the reason why you should go to these places and mix it up at these places because you learn things. You learn things, and you're flexing a muscle that you haven't used, or that is there, but you haven't had any use for it. So go ahead.
When you talk about one of the things, I got to warn, it's not a warning, and I do have a degree in economics finance, but this is not a financial advice. I think what a lot of people don't realize, black folks and poor white folks don't realize, is that most of these rich people got rich off of one or two things. Even though Warren Buffett tells you to diversify, his initial money came from his father and that Buffalo printing. Same thing when it came to these cats with you know about the PayPal mafia. You know about, look it up. The guys that helped start PayPal are the ones that are all in charge now. So what happened? PayPal made a shitload of money. Next, you know, you got Elon Musk making money. You got the one Bezos making money. That's where their initial money came from. Even Elon, who came from a rich family, didn't get paid off it. He got paid from that PayPal mafia deal, and they all took that money and started and invested in something else. So what I'm trying to say is, I know people tell you to diversify. I know people tell you to be frugal, yada, yada, yada. But a lot of these people took chances on something and they got into it at the ground level and they stuck with it while they went to their regular jobs and they toiled and did whatever they did. All of a sudden, when that stock blew up, that they got that, then they invested in their dream or their future business or whatever it was. That's not what we're taught. We're taught you get a good job, you go to college. Before it was get a trade, then it was go to college. And all that is the hamster wheel. That's that shit, because you're not guaranteed a good job, but you're guaranteed good debt. That's what the fuck they get you with it was whole college shit. Is you're guaranteed good debt, and from there on, you're paying for some shit that you might not ever use. So that's what I'm talking about. Is that we're not taught to invest, and the reason is, I remember George Carlin had made this very clear. He said, you know why education sucks in this country, excuse me. And he says it's because the fucking overlords want you to be beholden to them and want you to get a good job and work hard. They don't want you to ever figure shit out. So because if they give you a good education, you'd figure shit out. If you're rich, if you're making $300,000 or $400,000, you need to make sure that you homeschool your kids and you pay one of these out of work retired teachers to come in and work for you and teach the agenda that you want taught. And that kind of stuff. Control the outcome of your family if you hit a certain amount of money. That's what we're not taught. When you leave society, to educate your child, they're making a worker. When you educate your child, you're making an innovator. You're making whatever. You're making the next whatever. So, be careful about education. It's a hustle. It's bullshit.
Oh, it's 100% a hustle, because the cost of education has skyrocketed so much that
exponentially, bro.
And they have come to the understanding that people want to remain in school because it's comfortable.
They're not scared.
They're isolated.
They're
isolated from the rest of the world. It's comfortable. Nobody is challenging them. Everybody is saying yes, yes, yes. And all you have to do is jump through hoops, pass these tests. And guess what? If you do it well enough, we'll give you a job, and you can
be part of this
and be part of these incubators that create these things that go out into society and start shit, but they don't really help things. They're actually part of somebody's demolition. This time release aspirin of destruction that is fucking up society. But you feel, because you're an idealist, that you feel that you're fighting the good fight.
That you're relevant, that you're actually doing something that matters. And that's that bullshit right there.
Because you're getting social credit because of it. And now those social credit scores have become so important because this slow motion demolition of this democratic society, and then we're trying to replace it with social Marxism, is their way of basically indoctrinating all these people starting at the university level. But now the university level wasn't enough, so now they want to go all the way down to elementary level and start indoctrinating young people all the way down there. But the shit continues.
Look, it's a rat race. We get it, but you got to step out of it. You got to get your way out of it. And, it's a lot easier when you're not burdened by so many bills where you can't see an out. That's the hustle. Because you can't, Keeping your head above water, making a way when you can. That's the shit. That song is deeper than you think, and that's what we all. And when you hear it, you should actually be inspired by it. Like, okay, I'm keeping my head above water. That's not enough. I need to be in a boat. I need to be on a yacht. But you're taught that you can't do those things because of because you're not them or you're not good enough. Nah, you are complete. Keep America free, and that's part of freedom is creating your own society, your own little area. Everybody has the same goal now, and no, if you're over 30, your goal is to get you 4 or 5 acres or 6 acres in the middle of nowhere, raise some chickens, and do what you do. But they got you convinced that there's not enough land. It's plenty of fucking land. I sent you a video about the 3 biggest landowners, and one of them was Ted Turner, and the motherfucker owns like millions of acres. So there's plenty of land, plenty of land. If you decide to tune out, you can do it. If you decide to program and create your shit, you can do it. But you don't have to stay in this bullshit, and you don't have to subscribe. And I get it. Don't fall for the commercials. They're more entertainment. When you get your education from commercials, you are literally becoming the capital that the capitalists build the society on. You don't want to be the capital. We was a capital once. Never again.
Dude, I remember when the movie South Central came out, Scarface did a remake of this song called Street Life. And this song
is the only life I know.
Is the only life I know. This person has accepted defeat. And they don't want to look outside of what's possible to see if they can improve their lives.
I think they're singing the blues and we don't know it. I think that's what.
Yeah, but see, listen, the blues ain't always good, man.
No. When you talk about art, you was actually very deep. But that's the blues, and sometimes we enjoy our art so much that we start believing art and not realizing that art is entertainment. And
the problem is when lamentations become a mantra.
Whew. Keep going. Don't stop.
Because what's happening is you're hearing when lamentation is moaning and wailing and sorrow. And
yes.
When that becomes something you sing to yourself over and over, you're putting yourself into the sunken place. You're basically going and buying furniture for your apartment in the sunken place. Like, you know what? I like the sunken place. I like being down here.
No. You're being deep. You're literally paying more for your furniture than you're paying for your domicile. That don't make sense, my nigga. And what was happening is that the messages that we're receiving is that black folks can only live in. Here's the thing. So when you grew up watching Good Times, and that's when you're about 3 years old. That's when so you hit 7 or 8, and now I'm going to these different programs, NYSP, the National Sports Youth Sports Program, but all the kids I'm going with are staying in projects, and I'm like, I wish I stayed in the project, not knowing but you don't understand that because you want to be tough.
Because you're told that living in the projects and being poor is cool.
Yeah, but
every last one of them motherfuckers will step over you to get the fuck up out of there.
But what you're being told is that that's part of the black experience. That's how they convince you. And we want to be black, but the thing is, the black experience are pyramids. The black experience are these different towns, and it's really hard to explain because now I sound like a hater. But when you do the math, Jay-Z was never number one at anything. He was always number 2 or number 3, but that's good enough to get a seat at the white folks' table and then submit to them. I'm not doing that.
So the art gallery on 24th Street is called the Union for Contemporary Art, and they got some interesting art when you go to the webpage. But they got all types of stuff, man. I mean, they got different programs.
Yep.
They got. If you are listening to this and you live in Omaha or you have Nebraska's driver's license, there's a fellowship that you can get to support your art. That you can get a stipend, like a yearly stipend, to work on your art. And that's another thing I wanted to say. You don't have to just live in that city. There's other foundations in your city that offer stipends and fellowships for artists. All you got to do is produce, make some stuff, just produce some art. And see, it's this old movie from the late 80s, early 90s called The Field of Dreams. And of course, the Mandela effect has changed, what the whispering voice was saying, but the original voice is, if you build it, they will come. And basically that applies to everything. If you just create, people will show up.
Yeah.
We created this show and people listen to it. You know what I'm saying? Because we want to give y'all something and people want to hear something. So every week we show up and we record and we hammer out these issues and we give you solutions. But we're going to talk about the most fucked up shit at the beginning because we got to talk about what the fuck the problem is before we get to the solution. But the whole point is keep showing up.
Consistency is very important. It's the key. Now, unfortunately, most of us keep showing up to a job, but you can also keep showing up to something else. You can keep showing up to a church. You can keep showing up to a stock market. You can keep showing up to whatever you want to write, and just write it. My first script I used to write at work. Between phone calls, I wrote a script. Wrote 2 or 3 of them, and no, I ain't did shit with it. That's my fault. But it was the fact that whenever somebody read it, they was like, where did you get this idea from? And I'm like, I ain't telling you shit, nigga. I can't trust you. But that's it. The same thing that you're watching on TV, you have the ability to create. The same thing you're watching on the internet, you have the ability to create. The same thing that you're listening to on the radio, you have the ability to create. Now, is it good or bad? That's the other question. Not everybody gonna subscribe to you. But the fact of the matter is that sometimes I got a homegirl right now. My homeboy's wife, she's just like my wife. She's from New Orleans. She writes and rap. She's making her own music, but she's not making it to sell. She's making it to keep from going crazy. That is her outlet. That's her faucet.
That's so valuable. Is first of all, period, point blank. If you're creating something, do it for the joy. Because if you wake up at 3 a.m. and you turn on that beat machine and you start playing, with headphones on while everybody's sleeping, it's helping you. If you're smiling or you're making that music or you're getting those eureka moments where you're breaking through mentally and you're doing things or you learn how to make a unique special effect or how to create something or how to shoot certain things or write something and make it cohesive and make people understand it, that's your joy. Keep doing that. Follow that. But this episode was about how to stop from being poor, straight up and down, and how economically there are financial instruments that are used to keep you poor, and we listed them so that you will ignore them, sidestep them, and create a plan for financial independence.
More importantly, you can identify the new ones as they come out, and you can avoid those or navigate those correctly. Yeah.
Yep. Look, that's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.